considerations will, I think, have the better impression in you if we proceed in the handling of them thus. First, the main cause of the lamentation was the ruin or the dangerous declination of the kingdom of that great and glorious state, the kingdom. But then they did not seditiously sever the king and the kingdom, as though the kingdom could be well and the king ill. That safe and here in danger, they say cause to lament, because misery was fallen upon the king, perchance upon Josiah, a good, a religious king, perchance, but upon Zedekiah, a worse king. Yet, whichsoe'er it be, they acknowledge him to be Unctus Domini, the anointed of the Lord, and to be Spiritus Narium, the breath of their nostrils. When this person, therefore, was fallen into the pits of the enemy, the subject laments. But this lamenting, which was because he was fallen, implies a deliverance, a restitution. He was fallen, but he did not lie there. So the text, which is yet a lamentation, grows an or hence to be a congratulation. And then we shall say that whosoever hath lamented a danger and then congratulated a deliverance, he will provide against a relapse, a falling again into that or any other danger, by all means a sustaining the kingdom and the king in safety and in honor. Our first step in this royal progress is that the cause of this lamentation was the declination, the diminution of the kingdom. If the center of the world should be moved but 1 inch out of the place, it cannot be reckoned how many miles this island or any buildings in it would be thrown out of their places. A declination in the kingdom of the Jews, in the body of the kingdom, in the soul of that state, that form of government, was such an earthquake as could leave nothing standing. Of all things that are, there was an idea in God. There was a model, a platform, an exemplar of everything which God produced and created in time, in the mind and purpose of God before. Of all things, God had an idea, a conception, but of monarchy, of kingdom. God, who is but one, is the idea. God himself, in his unity, is the model. He is the type of monarchy. He made but one world. This and the next are not two worlds. This is but the morning, and that the everlasting noon of one and the same day, which shall have no night. They are not two houses, This, the gallery, that, the bedchamber of Owen, and the same palace, which shall fail no ruin. He made this own world, but own I, the sun. The moon is not another eye, but a glass upon which the sun reflects. He made this own world, but own ear, the church. He tells not us that he hears in a left ear by saints, but by his right ear, the church he does. Own God, own faith, own baptism, and there's led us to the love of own sovereign, of monarchy, of kingdom. In that name he hath conveyed to us the state of grace and the state of glory too, and promised both in enjoining that prayer, adveniat regnum, thy kingdom of grace here, thy kingdom of glory hereafter. All forms of government have the same soul, sovereignty, that resides somewhere in every form. And this sovereignty is from the same root in them all, from the Lord of Lords, from God himself, for our poor is of God. But yet, this form of a monarchy, of a kingdom, is a more lively and a more masculine organ, an instrument of this soul of sovereignty than the other forms are. We are sure women have souls as well as men, but yet it is not expressed that God bred the soul into woman as he did into man. All forms of government have this soul, but yet God infuses it more manifestly and more effectually in that form, in a kingdom. All places are alike near to heaven, yet Christ would take a hill for the place of his ascension. All governments may justly represent God to men, who is the God of order and fountain of all government. But yet, I am more aged and more accustomed to the contemplation of heaven in that notion as a kingdom, by having been born and bred in a monarchy. God is a type of it, and it is a type of heaven. This form, then, in nature, the noblest, and in use, the profitablest of all others, God always intended to his best beloved people. God always meant that the Jews should have a king, though he prepared them in other forms before. He meant them peace at last, though he exercised them in war. He meant them the land of promise, though he led them through the wilderness. He meant them a king, though he prepared them by judges. God intended it in himself, and had declared it to them. 400 years before he gave them a king, he told them what kind of king they should set over them when they came to that kind of government. And long before that, he made a promise by Jacob to Judah of a kingdom, and that the scepter should not depart from him till Shiloh came. And when God came near the time in which he intended them that government, in the time of Samuel, who was the first immediate predecessor to their first king Saul, God made way for a monarchy. For Samuel had a much more absolute authority in that state than any of the judges had. Samuel judged them, and in their petition for a king, they asked but that, make us a king to judge us. Samuel was little less than a king, and Saul's reign and his are reckoned in own number and made our own. When that is said that Saul reigned 40 years, Samuel's time is included, for all the years from the death of Haley to the beginning of David are but 40 years. God meant them a kingdom in himself, promised them a kingdom in Judah, made laws for the kingdom in Deuteronomy, made way for the kingdom in Samuel. And why then was God displeased with their petition for a king? It was a greater fault in them than it could have been in any other people to ask for a king. Not that that was not the most desirable form of government, but that he governed them so immediately, so presentially himself, as that it was an ungrateful intemperance in them to turn upon any other men's. God had ever performed that which he promised. Ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. And therefore Josephus hath expressed it well. All other people are under the form of democracy or aristocracy or such, composed of men, sed noster legislator theocratium instituit. The Jews were only under a theocracy, an immediate government of God. He judged them himself, and he fought their battles himself. And therefore, he says to Samuel, they have not rejected thee. Thou wast not king, but they have rejected me. I was. To be wary of God. Is it enough to call it a levity? But if they did only compare form with form, and not God himself with any form, if they did only think a monarchy best and believe that God intended a monarchy to them, yet to limit God his times, and to make God perform his promise before his day was a fault inexcusable. Daniel saw that the Messiah should come within 70 weeks. Daniel did not say, Lord, let it be within 50 weeks, or let it be this way. The martyrs under the altar, they cried, Usque quo Domine, how long, Lord? But yet they led there, even as long as it pleaseth them. Their petition should have been, adveniat regnum, let's have that kingdom, which, because thou knowest it is good for us, thou hast promised to us. But yet, fiat voluntas tua, let's have it then, when thy wisdom says it best for us. You said to me, says Samuel, nay, but a king shall reign over us, when the Lord your God was your king. They would not trust God's means. There was their first fault. And then, though they desired a good thing and intended to them, yet they fixed God his time. They would not stay his leisure. And both theirs, to ask other things than God would give, or at other times than God would give them, is displeasing to him. Use his means and stay his leisure. But yet, though God were displeased with them, he executed his own purpose. He was angry with their manner of asking for a king, but yet he gave them a king. Howsoever God be displeased with them that prevaricate in his cause, who should sustain it and do not? God's cause shall be sustained, though they do it not.